Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to The Right Time, a Wave Sports and Entertainment original presented by Prize Picks. My name is Bomani Jones. Thanks for listening wherever you get your podcast. Thanks for watching us on YouTube. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. Also, check out the Right Times YouTube channel. Lots of YouTube exclusive content there at the Right Time YouTube channel. It is that time of week where we have a guest join us from the land of Tallyhoan. The man kind of sort of from Tallahassee, which is not the same as Tally Ho, Rowood Jr. What's going on? And also not to be confused with Trayvon Edwards, as it was put on the screen.
And top of the morning to you, Melania.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. I'm in London today, man. We shooting. I'm guest hosting the British version of that CNN joint I do in the States. They got me over here since. Here's just real quick. Here's how wild the election was. CNN gave us my show. Have I got news for you? They gave us this week off because they figured it would just be a week of coverage of contesting and counting the votes and let's see what's going on. Wrong. Looking like a 4-game sweep. We could have been on the air. I ain't got no business being in England any damn way, man. But good to be back. Appreciate you.
Yeah, like have they officially named the winner? Because it does feel like a 3-1 lead, if nothing else, right? Like even if you didn't want to call it a sweep, it feels gentleman sweepy right now.
I think it's still fair to verify all of the counts. We need to take the little counterfeit $20 ink pen across all the ballots, make sure everything we counting was legit. I don't think it's looking good. You know it's looking bad when BET.com then already said, we still love you in it. They had a post, I'll find it in a second here. They had a post where it's basically, we still uplifting your girl type of post at the Madam Vice President. So, it's not looking good, man.
Now, I have 2 questions for you, being over there in London. My first question is, so there's a certain American accent that I don't think of as an accent, right? So if you ask me to do like the accent of an American, I could not do it because it is so common. But you ask me to do the accent of a Southern American, I can do it. If you ask me to do the accent of somebody British, I can't do it, but I recognize it. Anyway, I find the British to sound so delightful when they talk. Do they feel that way when you talk?
It's comforting, even when they're being condescending. So I landed this morning. I followed most of the results until about when Georgia was called on the flight over. And then I went to sleep, landed, and everybody's in their phones. And this is about, let's just say it's about 4:00 in the morning U.S. time. At this point, Pennsylvania's been pretty much called. There's no real mathematical path to victory, right? And the lady in the seat across the aisle looked at me. She could tell I was from America. And she just goes, how are you doing? And it just felt so warm. I was like, wow, thank you for considering that. But she didn't know which way I voted. You could tell that's like the new way to act. Like the day after an election, to see who people voted for, you ask them how you feeling instead of who you voted for. And then they wait to see if your eyebrow twitch or some of that FBI micro expression nonsense come up on your face.
She knew who you voted for, brother.
How are you doing? Are you doing okay? Is everything all right? Oh, it's madness, isn't it? Madness, isn't it? Hey,
you should have messed with it though. Yeah. Oh no, you should have messed with her. But she was like, "How are you feeling? Better than ever. Feeling like brand new. Back like good crack. How you feeling?"
You know what's messed up, man, is that when you're an American abroad, it ain't even cool no more. Because like now, like regardless of who you voted for, like when you American and overseas, you become America's PR person immediately. Well, you have to understand that the electoral college is an antiquated system, and honestly, there's still oh wait, he won the popular vote too. Look, you just got to understand, okay? It's just different over there. You used to be able to brag and be like, yeah, I'm from America, and what? Get out the way. I'm next in line. Now you got to be quiet and humble and whisper.
Yo, I really started traveling after the Trump era had begun, right? But I'd taken a couple of trips before to know what it feels like. After Trump had got in there, bro, you sit down in them cabs, and I'll be honest with you, man, they be having some nerve when they talk to you. They're like, oh, things going kind of crazy over there. And I mean, and they saying this in countries where, with all due respect, I don't even know if I could drink the water. And you out here telling me about how we out here going crazy. And I don't I learned that there's a certain streak of jingoism that is inside me that I didn't realize when these places from countries with paltry GDP is out here talking bad to me about what's going on.
Hey man, it's with all due respect, American water probably finna be on that same tip too pretty soon. You better buy some stock of Dasani, because they say they gonna take the fluoride out the water. Boy, you liable to get the same water from your toilet coming back through the faucet to make that chili with you making tonight. I am just let me ask you a question. Of all the people who are excited on the Trump side for what seems like a victory for the new 47th president. I feel like if there's one person who is not excited that Trump got reelected from the Trump side, it's Melania. She just looked tired. She just looked like she don't want to do this no more. I don't know if you've ever gone out with a woman to something she didn't want to go with you to, but she went with you because it's the thing you're into. For me, it's baseball. Like, it's very rare that I end up at a baseball game with a woman that is equally into baseball. But if that thing go to extra innings, the look on her face when they get to the 10th, 11th, 13th inning, and they done closed off all the beer and liquor in the 7th inning, that's Melania's face for the energy she exudes. Is that of a woman that don't want no parts of another 4 years of decorating the White House at Christmas and coming up with some initiative that she got to push around the schools like Michelle Obama and the school lunches?
So, one, I have to say, if you don't want to do this thing I do, you are welcome to stay at home. It don't hurt my feelings a bit. I'm trying to think of a time in my life that I've had somebody go do something with me that they did not want to do. Because if you don't want to do it, I don't want you to do it either. Don't you worry. In fact, I'm trying to set the example for what I'm looking for out of this. Maybe this will get me out of doing some shit.
I almost feel, well, I can't say I feel bad for Melania. You married him. But the idea that she has just been not, if you compare her to Doug Emhoff, who been more active on the campaign trail? Let's just be real about the situation. She does not exude a first lady that wants to. This might be the first time in history we have a second president, but we only had one first lady. She ain't gonna run it back.
So let me run a couple things by you on that. Number one, there's been some speculation that, for example, the woman that showed up with Trump when he cast his ballot was not actually Melania Trump. She was a Melania Trump, not even look-alike. She was just a white woman in some sunglasses. I have not bothered to investigate this closely enough to see if it is actually true, but people are raising questions as to whether or not this is the actual Melania. Now, I'm just going to say this. That boy is in college now, right? And he like 6'9" or something like that, so he just must not be able to hoop.
Yeah.
That boy is now in college. I don't understand why she got to come to the White House. I'm not sure she's going to show up. Like, married people live in different places all of the time.
You are America's first lady. You are to be with me when we go to China and meet the Chinese dude, and when we go to Russia and shake hands with the Russian dude. You are supposed to be there so we can take the picture and look like a happy couple. There was I need to see if he won. There are politicians, like, family values was such an important part of the Republican ticket this year, that there are Republicans who were not married, who have no kids, who was taking pictures with other people's kids and then using that in their campaign literature.
That was hilarious. He did do that.
So I think that somewhere to a degree, for what America traditionally is used to in a first lady, I don't think we're gonna get that this go round with Melania Trump. This might be the first president that we ever have in history that has a probation officer and a side chick in the White House at the same time.
The probation officer is the part that makes it wonky.
If he get found guilty in a couple weeks, he gonna have a probation. We gonna have a president who gonna have to go to the probation office to get a travel permit just so he can go to China and meet the Chinese dude to talk about the trade and the economy. 21-day travel permit. That's the max you're allowed on a federal probation situation. The most you can do is 21 days. Then you got to come back and get your new paperwork, get it all re-upped. Don't ask me how I know. We'll talk about that later.
Can you imagine? I'm really trying to think about this. The power trip that you would have if you were the probation officer of the president of the United States. Because probation officers, they're kind of like
it sounds like a sitcom.
Yes. I mean, like, look, man, probation officer, like, that's your daddy. If you got one of them, like, a probation officer can do a million things to make your life very difficult. I've actually only ever been friends with one probation officer, and he was really cool, but it was really awkward walking around Durham with him. We would show up at summer league games and stuff like that with him, and, like, yeah, I'm here with the probation officer. I needed to start pretending like I was on probation. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that would have helped me out a little bit.
As a man who was on probation as a teenager for credit cards, let me tell you what happens. You get a probation officer, and then the first thing your probation officer has to do, Bomani Jones, is come to your job and verify your employment with your employer and inform your employer that you're on probation. You are literally the highest ranking person in America. So that means your probation officer has to come and talk to you. How that work?
Hold on. The probation officer got to go over to the United Nations. He got to go to the NATO meeting. He got to try to find somebody that's in charge. He got to go talk to the Speaker of the House, the majority leader, and be like, hey, just letting you know, Donald will be here, and for an indeterminate period of time, he is property of the state.
Yes, and much like my manager at Golden Corral, he's going to tell the probation officer, that's cool. We got all types of people in the back of the house on probation, too. We love these guys.
We love these guys.
Yeah, because they get a tax cut. At least, at Golden Corral, you get a tax cut. You're giving returning citizens an opportunity to get their life on track. You get a tax cut. So my manager was like, oh, man, you've been doing dirt too? Meet the man, what's up, boys?
I assume that his "we love these guys" was about the guys who may not necessarily understand when he says "we love these guys" because they speak a different language. They seem to be big fans of them also.
I just think that we could be faced with, that we can get into policy and Project 2025 and the doomsday dominoes that potentially will fall over the next 4 years. But also, we are looking at the first president that might be having a couple side chicks running in and up out the White House. That's all I'm saying, and it's going to be awkward.
I do think, though, and I understand that some people are not in a position to talk about the things in this that are entertaining, but you knew who I was when you got here. I don't do the wallow. Anyway, I forget which story it was. I think it was in the Atlantic, and this is part of why people thought that Trump wasn't going to win, was because they were putting out those stories that normally come out at the end of a campaign that tell you why everything went wrong, except they were coming out the weekend before the election. Like, people seem to really be trying to get out ahead of it, and instead he went out there and they got him a third round knockout. But anyway, in the story, it said that woman, Laura Loomer, who had been on the plane with Trump and had people raising questions as to whether or not that was his mistress, that he found out that she had had plastic surgery, and that is a big turnoff for him, is the idea of somebody having plastic surgery. And so he was like, got her out the way. And if you have ever seen a picture of this woman, the idea that he had to be told that she had plastic surgery raised a whole host of questions for me about what you be looking at.
And maybe he was fooled. I mean, she definitely has had some procedures, I think like some cheekbone, maybe some lip filler type situation. But I wonder though, like, if you meet someone post plastic surgery and you just like, who's the housewife that just had it? Nene Leakes a couple weeks ago just came out with the new look, and I think she got the nose done. We've lived with Black people. We've lived with Nene for 20 years within our culture, right? So you can see it. But if you are just met Nene today, fresh off fresh off the truck. You just met Nene, and then you saw a picture of her from '05. Maybe that's what happened with Trump. He met her as is, and then saw the '05 model, Laura Loomer, and then was like, wait a minute, you playing, I look, we don't know how well plastic surgery be fooling people. It's like weave with black men. Like when you find out your girl got a weave and you get mad, because weave has gotten so good that it'll trick you. So if you're a brother that's anti-weave, you got to be a little more thorough.
By the way, does the anti-weave coalition still exist? Because comedians no longer have the ability to use weave as just like a go-to thing to joke about. Like, does the anti-weave coalition still exist? I feel like social media is one of those things that kind of killed the anti-weave population just because the women made it so clear. Not only are they going to be wearing this weave, they're not even trying to fool you. You know what I'm saying?
Two things happen. Two things happen with the anti-weave coalition, Bomani. One, weave got technologically better. You have sew-ins, you have the stuff that lays under it or whatever. Women have got immaculate wigs now and all of that.
Yes.
Also, most of the anti-weave coalition members lost their hairline. And so you have to reconsider what you're saying to women at that point. When you have brothers getting everything shaved off and then getting a fade glued back on the top, how much longer can you be anti-weave before the technology catches up and you go, you know what, maybe them women was onto something. Maybe I
Right.
want a high top fade this week.
Another example of, yeah, you're correct. You raise a good point. But what I was gonna say though is we ain't like cats can't tell a kit when they see one. Like I feel like even if it's a good kit, like you see a car going down the street and they got a kit, you know it's a kit. You might have thought it was a fly kit, but you know that it's a kit. I could not see any way whatsoever that you could have looked at this woman and not thought that she had a kit. Like I'm sure some people out here with kits that's fooling me, you know? But a kit got that look. You know what a kit looked like. I could not believe that he did for him to have such a problem with a kid. I couldn't believe that he had no eye for the kid.
We're talking about Trump though, man. When you really look at his roster, it's a lot of fours and fives mixed in with a couple of nines. And, he doesn't strike me as a person that's doing a thorough inspection of the vehicle before driving it off the lot, if you will. Not every
I
time.
mean,
And so I
man,
think
look,
somebody got in his ear with the Carfax about Laura Loomer, and that was that. But that doesn't mean there won't be another one ready to step up.
look, man, we learned some surprising things about what you know.
Especially, especially when we now know that Trump knows that he is scandal proof. Sex scandal ain't nothing no more at this point. Y'all liable to catch Trump coming out to the Oval Office to come speak in the what's the room? The press room?
Yeah.
The press you liable to see Trump coming out, straightening up his zipper and like pops off Friday. No shame. What was it?
So
Don DC Curry and, and Kim Whitley from next Friday? Just freak
yeah,
it.
or boomerang with John Witherspoon come out and put the mushroom coat on backwards because they just showed up out the
Yes.
bathroom. Like I do think that the sex scandal has largely gone away, right? But I think there are two halves to the legendary statement, and I don't know how much trouble a dead girl can get you into anymore. But I still think the live boy is a bit of a live wire thing for somebody on Trump's side of the aisle. I'm not sure how survivable the live boy is. The dead girl, hey, we ain't got no rules no more.
Here's the thing that I find interesting in regards to the race not yet being officially called, though, like you said, Kamala's down 3-1 and trailing by 40 points in the fourth quarter. Like she need three scores, three onside kicks, and three 2-point conversions type situation, right? To even have a shot. The number of countries that have already come out and congratulated or avowed some level of allegiance to Trump makes me feel like they know something we don't know and that they also kind of scared. It's not to say that countries don't come out and congratulate whoever wins an election, but the speed at which all of these countries have come out, we talking less than 24 hours since the polls closed, Bomani Jones. I'm going to rattle them off to you. Canada, China, Israel, France, Germany, UK, Italy, Spain, the EU, NATO, Ukraine, Saudi, Egypt, Turkey, India, Japan, Taiwan, South Korea, and even the leader of the new Taliban in Afghanistan said, "Hey, Trump, baby, it's time for a new start. Sorry about all that craziness with Joe Biden. Give me a call." Only three people who said, "We ain't studying Trump. You can kiss our ass and you need to get on board with us," was Hamas, who said Trump need to stop the bombing. Mexico, who has a woman president and said that Trump's victory is troubling. And Russia, who said that they refuse to congratulate Trump, but instead will, quote, "judge him through what he does next as we take our next steps towards victory in Ukraine." Now, what you think that mean, Bomani?
I think that man that's running the Ukraine is shooketh, as well he should be. Like, look, he has done a
Yeah,
very good job considering the circumstances, but let us not forget that man is still just an actor. This is not the job that he signed up for, and it was a much different job
Zelensky.
when Joe Biden was president than it is right now.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see how all the foreign policy unfolds, but I think it's going to be a lot of domestic shifts to begin with. I mean, first, you got to get Trump confirmed. Second, you got to see if he gets House and Senate, which is still, could go either way.
I want to know this.
Let's see.
Who is he going to hire to do jobs large and small? Because the thing that we saw, especially toward the end of last time, was the difficulty to find people that you would actually want to give a lot of these jobs to get these jobs. Like this is where it's going to get a little wonky. Because if he really talk about putting Robert F. Kennedy Jr. in charge of the health stuff, like really? I ain't gonna lie, like he out here trying to get organic food everywhere. That sounds like a great idea until they start pulling up some budget estimates.
Yeah, but what they're doing to Medicaid and Medicare and Obamacare, when they
Yeah, it's
defluorinate
gonna
the
be a problem.
water and a filling goes from $150 to $450 to get that hole
Yeah.
out your jaw, then we're gonna see where you at on this type of stuff. I just think that, man, politics is just a scam so complicated that you are able to run games on people who are too lazy to figure out the shell game. And that's really what the long run of this is. Because you can go, all right, RFK gonna get the processed foods out to school lunch. Was it hydrogenated oils he ain't fooling with no more? It's one of the oils
Hmm.
that's bad, he said he's gonna get rid of. But they also said they're gonna get rid of the FDA. Well, who the hell is gonna regulate? If you're gonna deregulate all these companies, then how can you even enforce the rules that you're talking about? Boy, you thought you had some poisonings and recalls now? Come on,
Brother,
coach.
can
How
can
you
you
going to enforce
imagine?
something and deregulate it at the same time?
Can you imagine the commercials we gonna get? If you ain't even gotta go through no FDA, you can just put this dope out here in these streets.
Oh, it's going to be a good time. I tell you, look, man, I'm going to start selling lunch meat. Since we ain't asking what's in it, y'all getting straight pigeon. And I'm putting a picture of a cow on the package.
So that's the thing
What you going to
about
do?
this is because I'm like you talking about a complicated scam. I don't even know if it's complicated, but I don't. And I've seen reports done on this in the past, but nothing is testing our willingness just to trust what you telling me, like slapping the word organic on something, right? How do I have any idea if this thing that you claim is organic is actually organic? I am just crossing my fingers and hoping that you are not lying to me, which makes me feel like literally the dumbest motherfucker in the world. Right. So, like, you
Boris
can say we gonna
said,
get all this stuff out of the
close the
schools.
factory.
No, you not.
They said you can clean this up or you can close. There's so much shit meat has come from this factory. We can either clean it up or y'all can just close it and never open it again. And Boris said was like, "We cool. We'll just close it, man. My bad. We'll close it." And it's on the backside of a factory blowing up in Atlanta, spraying all the killer poison, smoking to the hood, because that's where all the factories be. They be adjacent to the. I ain't got time to get into environmental racism. Here's my question, Bob Money. What advice do you have to people who still have to go to work today and act like it's just Wednesday.
We will talk about that right after this. The NBA is officially back, which means you could turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game watching your favorite teams only on Prize Picks. You can make a Prize Picks lineup between the NFL and the NBA in as little as 60 seconds. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what make Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. But rather than hearing from me, let's hear from an expert picker. Sean, how the picks going for you?
I guess I'm solely an expert because of the sheer volume of picks I make, but it's definitely been nice to have the NBA back, to add a little more variety in my picks along with the NFL. Plus, Prize Picks invented the flex play, which means you can still cash out if your lineup isn't perfect. You can double your money even if one of your picks doesn't hit. Prize Picks offers weekly promotions that could lead to big payouts like Taco Tuesday each Tuesday. Prize Picks discounts select players' projections up to 25% to provide you even more value for your lineups.
There we go. So make sure you go to prizepicks.com/Bomani and use code Bomani for a first deposit match up to $100. That's prizepicks.com/Bomani. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports made easy. This episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let's take a moment to say thank you to someone in your life. Whether it's your therapist, loved one, or a friend who really listens to you. It's always helpful to show some gratitude. Sean, is there anybody in your life you want to send some thanks to?
For me, Bo, I'm always thankful to my friends and family who have been with me through all the good times and the bad. And while this month is all about gratitude towards those people in our lives, there's another person we don't get to thank enough, and that's ourselves. It's sometimes hard to remind ourselves that we are trying our best to make sense of everything in this crazy world, and that isn't easy. So here's a reminder to send some thanks to the people in your life, including yourself.
If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Celebrate the progress you've already made. Visit BetterHelp.com/Bomani today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/Bomani. Hey, I love a great deal as much as the next guy, but I'm not going to crawl through a bed of hot coals just to save a few bucks. It has to be easy. No hoops, no BS. So when Mint Mobile said it was easy to get wireless for $15 a month with a purchase of a 3-month plan, I called them on it. Turns out, it really is that easy to get wireless for $15 a month. The longest part of the process was the time I spent on hold waiting to break up with my old provider. And if you don't believe me, Sean, tell them how easy it is to sign up.
To get started, go to mintmobile.com/Bomani. There you'll see right now all 3-month plans are only $15 a month, including the unlimited plan. All plans come with high-speed data and unlimited talk and text delivered on the nation's largest 5G network. You can use your own phone with any Mint Mobile plan and bring your phone number along with all your existing contacts. To get this new customer offer and your new 3-month premium wireless plan for just $15 a month, go to mintmobile.com/Bomani. That's mintmobile.com/Bomani. Cut your wireless bill to $15 a month at mintmobile.com/Bomani. $45 upfront payment required, equivalent to $15 a month. New customers on a first 3-month plan only. Speed slower above 40 gigs on unlimited plan. Additional taxes, fees, and restrictions apply. See Mint Mobile for more details.
All right, we're back on the right time with Roy Wood Jr. Roy asked me, what advice did I have to people who just have to go to work on a day like this? And is cannabis legal in your local municipality? All right, like is it possible for you to go get you a medicine card? Like I say, hey, I'm just saying, maybe you should give that a try, baby. I worked at a radio station in 2008 when Obama was running. It's one thing when you hear the white folks talking crazy on the radio, and then you just turn off the radio when you get to work. It's another thing when the white folks be talking crazy on the radio, and then you turn off the radio when you get to work, and then you walk upstairs, and there they go, right there. Sitting on the other side of the room. I really don't look, man. Like, I've had to do national radio after days like this. Now I do this from the crib, so you just kind of go. And I don't know, man. I guess maybe I just don't get my hopes up that high. This is just kind of another day. Or maybe you call your funniest friend and say, hey, let's do work together.
Yeah, there have been some group chat text messages that definitely I will have to hold off on making public for a couple of weeks as tweets, but you definitely get that out off your chest. I had the gift of working at the Daily Show the last couple of elections. So, when it didn't go that way with Hillary, the folks in the building had folks to lean on. But I remember that Obama election, I was working in radio in the South. And it's like nobody will talk about politics in your office, right? And then the day after an election, half the office is like giddy, but you can't tell why. And the other half look like they got to take a shit. And you also can't tell why. And you just know, and it's just a weird energy, and then you feeling all this stress and hopelessness and all of that. I don't really know what to say to people, man, because I don't know if you can tell folks, well, just vote and keep fighting, and you gotta keep fighting. Well, what's been the last 12 years?
Let me tell you, the first Obama.
What do you say different?
The first Obama election, I did a remote the day after. I feel like it was for like a job fair. And so I'm sitting there like by myself. I got the headphones on, and like I don't know. I was having a good time. If anybody else has had a problem, I promise you, honestly, I couldn't really tell what anybody else is feeling right now. Shit wasn't really about you, now is it? Okay. I mean, if you would have asked me, I would say that everything was like OBKB. It was that 2012. That was the time that Obama didn't even get 40% of the white people vote. And after a week or so, hey man, it was white men in particular. They couldn't believe it. They were salty. They had all decided that this was over. And so they figured with that in mind, that meant that it would be over. And then it wasn't. And they were like, oh man, I mean, it was even like the white homies I had that was cool but conservative. It was having a tough week, man. That one was hard on them, boy. And I'm like, damn, if this how they dealing with me, I can't imagine what they saying only amongst they partners.
But why is it with politics? And I know part of it is because there are a lot of policies that are like legit life or death issues, no jokes. And why is it though with politics there isn't like you want like the way a team after the big win, you still come over and pat your buddy on the back and go, hey man, good battle. Hopefully my guy doesn't destroy everything that you hope and believe for, but let's still work together in our cubicle. Like the fact that Mark Cuban still came out and said, congrats, Trump. Okay. I don't know if you have to say that, but I get it in the spirit of trying to come together and no matter what, we America and we one nation.
Yeah, I get it when you that rich. You know what I'm saying? It's like, oh, well, you won fair and square. What can I say? Then, then you go on about your business. I do say this, though, and I think that this is an underrated, actual serious point that I've been thinking for a long time, and I'm surprised that more people have not articulated, is that the way that this system is built for there not to be wild swings based upon who does or does not win, right? Like the system of politics in this country with the mechanical setup that we have becomes broken when you can't afford to lose one. And neither side legitimately believes that they can afford to lose even one. Because if you feel like you can afford to lose one, then you don't feel like you have to cheat, right? You feel like, okay, well, we don't have this part. We can go do this other thing. All right, da. They got to shake something up because everybody feels like you can't even afford to lose a single one election, right? Everybody, it's not just the talking point that they think is dire if the other side gets it. Everybody actually believes that this is dire. And so, look, man, we've been around for a lot of elections. They didn't start making people sad to go to work until 2016 that I saw. Like, I don't remember people calling out for work in 2004 when George W. Bush won again. And remember when we thought that was the worst.
No. 2000 with Gore. I mean, I was there at FAMU. We marched to the Capitol in Tallahassee for the dangling Chad. And even when that election was still stolen, it was like, all right, we got to figure it out next time. But it definitely wasn't group hug, type sadness going around. And then I think that's when, like, once you have that sadness and the anger and the grief cycle, that's when all the finger pointing starts. And I think that's where there's a lack of effective post-election analysis about why you might have lost. So you can just go, Oh, it was the Latinos. Oh, the white women lied and they still voted against their own interests. Oh, black men. Don't you say black men didn't do it. Black men did do it. Look at the numbers, which is all true. But also, Kamala had a short runway to campaign. But also, there were a million other lies that people bought into that Trump. So I think everything becomes like a salad of chaos that the Democrats just couldn't recover from, man. And I think people just go, oh, well, and just next time we're going to fight even harder without doing legit analysis of why you are where you are and then changing up the recipe. And I think that's the biggest thing that's got to happen with the Democrats. They got to change the recipe this go round.
Yeah, I'm curious to see like what the level of self-awareness is going to be, or the recognition that, let's say hypothetically, that the only reason that Kamala Harris lost is because she's a black woman. Let's just throw that out there. That still doesn't mean you couldn't have done some other things differently in order, because people stayed home. That was the part that I thought was maybe the most interesting. Like 2020, I feel maybe COVID, like you look for any reason to get out the house anyway. So people got out and they voted in record numbers. The turnout was so low this go round. And I think that was the part that I probably found to be the most surprising. The part that, was not surprising, it consistently happens is, man, we just be using that term Latino so broadly, or Hispanic so broadly, and making a lot of default assumptions how some people feel about, say, immigration, for example. Like I saw somebody make the point that there was a county in Texas that is 97% Latino, the most Latino county in America, and it went Republican for the first time, I want to say, since 1892, right? And I think that, for example, on immigration, I feel like the argument of, hey, these people, they think that you're just a bunch of killers and rapists and everything else. Bad you. They're like, nah, that's not what they say about us. That's what they're saying about these people that's trying to come over. And by the way, I don't really need them to come over here neither. They're not my people. If you start with the assumption that all you got to do is say that he don't like Mexicans, you're missing the point. Like it can't stop there. And it felt at times like on that issue that it stopped there. And no, you got to keep going past that.
Well, hey, when these deportations start, we're going to see if they can tell the difference between all these Latinos, or whether they're going to start just grouping them up all into the same categories. I think that you're also looking at a situation, bro, where, number one, I think the number was about 16 million fewer voters, give or take. I need to finally get the number right. 16, like almost about 16 million people less went to the polls this go around. And you're talking about Harris right now, I think was trailing right around 5 million in the overall. So I don't even know if that still would have worked. How do you reach people who do not care about other people? That's the Democrats' problem. Because
they thought that going with Dick Cheney was the way to do that. They're like, hey, Dick Cheney, he don't care about other people. He's down with us.
Dick Cheney's down with what you're talking about, but what you're talking about doesn't connect with the things that I care about.
Correct.
It's a bunch of single issue voters all living in a bubble now, bro. And I think that if you can't make people feel like you care about the things that they are afraid of, and most of the effective campaigns right now are run on fear. Obama was the last one to run on hope. Look what we could become versus look what we might be if you don't vote for me right now. Like, those are two totally different sentiment. Like, even with the commercials, bro, I'm so, like, that commercial that like, I laughed during the World Series, and it ended up, I guess, being effective, where every commercial during the World Series and football the last 2 weeks was Trump telling you how Kamala is going cut everybody's penis off in the jails, and you going to pay for it. And I laughed and laughed and laughed, and then you start seeing people on the exit polls going, yeah, man, that trans rights, it was something that's important to me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I thought one of the most... Okay.
No, go.
Like I said, I thought one of the telling things, like the Hispanic vote, because, they was ready to come for us. And apparently we showed up and at least numbers level with the past. So people going to leave us alone. And now they're going to be mad at the Hispanic vote. Because, I found the numbers to be shocking. I will admit, I did not think. But I tell you, I give you an example of why I think they went wrong, right? Like, I just don't think their understanding of the people they were talking to and what really mattered to them. I don't think they pushed that, like, across to those people in the right way. You had just said something I was going to say something about, and then it just went boop out the brain. What was the thing you was just talking about? You was just talking about.
I think that you're looking at an issue where you cannot have voters who you can expect to care about everybody else. I think that idea
Yes.
of politics is gone. So you trying to run a full equality campaign, I don't know how you do that. Like if Kamala had like fracking, for instance, if Kamala had more runway than 100 days to run her campaign and really get into the fracking, then maybe that's something you've got to give her. If you are pro police reform and you want you want to get rid of qualified immunity for police officers, then you might have to give Kamala fracking. You might have to give up a little bit of the environment for the sake of getting this other thing. And I think that's where Democrats are like, no, we like everything and we are good with everybody. Everybody's good, right? Instead of just kind of playing the middle, openly playing the middle. Whereas I think the campaign has always been, let me be way more to the left. Then when I get in office, enact policies that'll be a little bit more centrist. And I don't
Well,
think you
does
can
the
do that
middle
anymore.
Well, does the middle exist anymore? I think becomes the question, because you just raised a point that I hadn't thought too much about, is that if you have this collection of single issue voters, that explains how you wind up with a low turnout. Say if your single issue is Gaza, for example, and you don't feel like you're getting what you want from the candidate you would like to vote for, then you just don't vote.
Correct.
Right? Like that was the thing I kept trying to talk to people about when it would come down, and they would say about this, well, you don't like this, so what are you going to do, vote for Trump? They're like, no, I'm just not going to vote. And that turned out to be that seems, at least in a lot of these places, to have been a big thing. It's just people not doing it.
Yeah. And so when you look at an issue like Gaza, Kamala also can't come out and go, yes, like she could have, but in terms of the vote swap of that statement, that's what every policy position is just, what am I losing? Where do I stand? What's the net gain? Are there more net pro-Israel voters or are there more net pro-Gaza voters? And then you start figuring out, and then you try to play the middle, which is what she did near the end of the campaign. Well, there should be a ceasefire. We should stop. And the weapons there was someone that pointed out her reaction to the Gazan protesters earlier in her campaign versus the response a little bit later, which was less dismissive and more, I hear you, I see you. So, you can try, but it's almost like where you ended up is where you needed to start, or you needed more runway to be what you ended up as near the last 30 days of your campaign. I'm not blaming everything on a short runway, because there's also still racism and feminism to account for a lot of this, because you still had white men going, no, we gonna vote for the white dude, even if he's a little off.
Hey, man, that man was up here talking about any old thing for the last couple weeks. I think that's the part that hit me in he was up there talking about any old thing, and that did not disturb nearly as many people as I would have expected, because they got Biden out to paint with one such performance.
Yo, and now we got to pray that Trump be healthy for the next 4 years so that we don't get President Vance up in there doing stuff, because I think everybody waiting in the wings behind Trump is far more calculated.
They are, but I can't tell if that's good or bad.
It ain't centrist, I can guarantee you that.
No, it is not. No.
It's
Hey, man, look.
Yeah,
After J.D. Vance said that he was inspired by Boys in the Hood, man, todo es posible. You know what I'm saying? Anything can happen.
If he'd have said that earlier, he would have got more of the black male vote.
Yo, it would have been a matter of time before he turned up doing some event with Cube. If anybody had told Cube about that, because here's the place where Vance got this wrong. And for people who have not seen this, Vance went on, was it Joe Rogan? He was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he said that a movie that informed his politics was Boys in the Hood. And it was like the themes of self-reliance, the government's not going to help you, And if you read Hillbilly Elegy, I don't think he's making this up. Like, I see the through lines between what he's talking about, but what he called it was a black leftist ideology. And see, this is the thing I think that, like, the Democrats don't quite catch. That is not a leftist ethos that you're getting from Boys in the Hood. Like, the Furious Styles character is not offering you a left-wing position. It is very much like a Nation of Islam adjacent sort of thing. And so when Vance says he saw that and saw his own views, it's not as kooky as it sounds. It's just wild to expect or to think. And that's what I think a lot of folks misunderstand, is that there's a lot of black people that think stuff like that, right? That have those perspectives, and they are not left-wing, left-ish, left-center perspectives.
But look at where JD Vance is from. JD is from below the poverty line. Moms was on drugs. That's parallel to a lot of experiences of friends that I had in black neighborhoods growing up. So of course he could see that connection and then take that and go, oh, well, that's just like the same thing I'm going on over here. So I could see how that could. You're absolutely right. Furious Styles did not vote for Bill Clinton.
Right. I don't think people get that. I don't think they understand us that. I don't think, and this is again where I'm talking about, I don't know how well they understand the Latinos that they were reaching. I don't know, like, it's sending people to fuss at black folks, and no matter what anybody says, that is what happened, man, right? Like, Obama's been doing this now for 16 years, that when it's time to talk to black men, he was fussing at them at Morehouse. God damn. They can't even live. Even Pookie is lurking at the Morehouse graduation too, right? Don't play, man.
So, but then what do you do in the next 4 years? How do you start connecting with Latino voters and white women? If that's where the votes were won and lost, where do you connect with those people? And then where do you get the people who stayed home excited to come back out again?
Right. And it's got to start
and
like tomorrow.
Taco Tuesdays, and you can't be out. You can't, like, whatever the kente cloth picture was they did for black folks in 2020. You cannot do the Latino equivalent of that. I don't know what that would be. I don't know if you in a sombrero eating a plantain. I don't know. You got to mix a lot of cultures if you're trying to reach all the Latinos. That's the bigger issue. You can't roll them all into one Mexican burrito, can you? No,
they just not even speak Spanish all necessarily. They just Spanish adjacent. Language, I learned in Miami, language is the great segregator, and we allow language to create an entire race. I mean, the same thing happens with Asians. That's a very broad term. We the only people that you can actually lump together all at once and maybe get some consistent results. But that took hundreds of years of cultivation.
Yeah, I mean, but it also took hundreds of years of us all having the same struggles and the same oppressions, oppressive experiences, minus maybe a lot of the first gen Africans and probably some of the Korean diaspora who doesn't necessarily align themselves with Black American ideologies or struggles or experiences. But that's recent in terms of don't lump me in with y'all over there type ideology. And no matter how we see each other as black folks, they see all of us as the same.
Mm-hmm. Hey, man, you want to talk about the Dolphins? No? Not today?
Really, but, I mean, we can. Just
messing with you.
It's the AFC East, bro. It's still winnable. What you want me to say? Look, I'm optimistic.
The only thing I wanted to say is I saw something I'd never seen before, which is Tua took off on a quarterback run, and Kevin Harlan was like, "Oh no, I've never heard the announcer scared for a football player before."
I shouldn't laugh.
It was so sincere. It's like, "Oh no."
Why is Tua's concussions the only ones that we're focused on? There's so many other multi-concussed players this year. Is it Chris? Is it Olave? Where is he playing?
Olave. Right in New Orleans.
Where is
Chris
he playing?
Olave.
Is it New Orleans? Second this year, I think. And I'm not trying to deflect off Tua, but this is a bigger issue across the league. And it just so happens that our guy is a quarterback who gets concussed a couple times. I don't think that he's ever going to hang it up. He's going to have to be medically told that he can never play again. So you're not going to get this man off the square. He's a competitor. He's a football player. He's a gladiator. That's what they want to do. So if that's the case, then we have to set up new protocols. TV.
That's his problem. He gets concussed with the whole world watching. It'd be a big old 100 million person prayer circle when he get concussed.
What you want him to do, Bo? You want him to switch to punter?
See, that's the thing. I get it, man.
Guardian cap?
I hate to say this, but the older I've gotten, the more that I realize is you just got to let men do stupid things sometimes. You know what I mean? Like that's the way. This is
Yes.
the way you decide you want to use this life you got. It's not for me to tell you that you're doing it the wrong way. This is your bet. This is what you're gonna do. All right, then.
It would suck to see him in the latter years of his life, knowing that he could have stopped playing 2 or 3 seasons sooner, and had his health. But ultimately it's Tua's decision to make, and so long as he wants to keep suiting up, I'm gonna keep rooting for the brother. And when he stops suiting up, I'm gonna continue to root for the brother. And whatever he does next, please, Tua, for the love of God, come back to Alabama and get Alabama football back to greatness. Put that clipboard and that headset on and wait your turn. You were a god in Tuscaloosa. You can all That's the thing people forget. College football players, you can ride that one season you was good for the rest of your life. You can get your three
Yes, you
car
can.
dealerships and everybody gonna come down. You can open up your little barbecue hut and have yourself a good time. You can do like Cornelius Bennett. Come on over to Birmingham and start you a football camp on the west side and teach them kids how to sling the ball. So I think he's a brother that's going to have a lot of options on the other side. I root for him either way, man. But I am very nervous when he scrambles outside of the pocket. We need to put him on that Chris Winkie, Trent Dilfer situation. Just 3-step pop, 3-step pop. If it ain't there, throw it away. Ain't no
I'm just
scrambling.
saying that is bad for business when you have a star player that makes people makes people scared when he plays. It's
You just
not
got to know
good
how to
for
run them.
business.
Here's the thing: you ever had a janky car, but you know how to like? You ever had the car that cuts off in the drive-through, but then you learn, all right, if I keep the foot on the brake and rev up the engine, I can go through the drive-through riding the brake. You just got to know how to use your quarterback in a way that keeps him from shutting down on you and keep the check engine light from coming on. And two is scrambling. That should just be in the playbook. It's just never scramble. If it ain't there, just
Yeah,
throw
but
it away. You don't get to run.
what if he just like somebody who don't know how to drive? You know what I mean? Stay blowing through yellow lights, don't recognize when the car coming from the other direction. Because they think he's like in the Colt McCoy, Rocky Balboa class, Robert Griffin. They don't like. It's not just that they get hit; they get hit and it look like Looney Tunes.
I think you have to, if you're Miami, I think you have to look for a quarterback in the offseason, just on the wear and tear factor of Tua, just on some Jordan Love, Aaron Rodgers tutelage, learn from the master Hattori Hanzo for a couple years type situation. Because otherwise, you're going to lose Tyreek and Waddle in the offseason because they're not going to hang around like that. Tyreek is not going to let you, not when you got DeAndre Hopkins crying after catching one touchdown like he didn't met the love of his life in Patrick Mahomes. DeAndre Hopkins caught 2 passes and crying like one of them black men that get freed from prison after bad DNA. Happy as hell. So you think you see if you Tyreek and you see DeAndre Hopkins that happy, you think you're gonna just stay in Miami when you don't know for sure whether or not Tua's gonna be the man next year and go through this again? Nah, you gotta have somebody in the cut. And I think you go get somebody. I still wouldn't have minded the Dolphins going and getting Ryan Tannehill. I understand why they didn't. I understand Tannehill made it clear. I don't want to be nobody's side chick. I want to be the main chick. So I'm gonna just sit back and kick it. But I don't know. You need some sort of future down there because otherwise your offense just lives and dies on Tua passing a concussion test every week.
Roy Wood Jr., I appreciate you coming on from London. I have to tell you, we had originally wanted to book one of the white homies. I would let him remain nameless. We weren't thinking about it so much with the election. He was, and he replied that he did not think that he was the right voice to be booked for today's show, which made me be like, you know what? It would probably be a good day to have Roy on. I wasn't thinking
You
about that
should
shit
have
at all.
you should have had him on and then be like, "Where was you? Did you talk to your relatives? It's your family's fault, mother." That's what we got to do.
Oh, man.
Every black person today, just walk up to one random white person, just go, "It was you, wasn't it?" Just get that
Demand
out your system.
answers. to bad answers, my brother. I appreciate you.
Man, love you, man. Appreciate you, brother.
Hey, man, love you too. Check out Have I Got News for You on CNN Friday nights. Sean, you got prize picks for the people.
I sure do. Let's keep it quick. Thursday night football, Ravens versus Bengals. Zay Flowers, 62.5 receiving yards. I'll take more there. Derrick Henry, .5 rush reception touchdowns. We'll take more there as well. And the same thing for Chase Brown, the new starting running back for the Cincinnati Bengals. That's all I got today, Bo.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us here on The Right Time. We do this here 3 times a week. Check out our YouTube channel for lots of YouTube exclusive content. That is Sean Yu. He handles everything behind the scenes. Thank you, sir. Remember, follow The Right Time. Subscribe, like, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. You only give us 4 stars. I'm inclined to believe you are a hater. We'll talk to you guys in a couple of days. Take it easy.